All right, go ahead.
Okay, welcome everyone tonight. Again, we're here with the Board of Education, the Weague-Wapelligan Central School District, for our 2021-22 budget workshop tonight. As many of you are aware, we did a full budget presentation a few weeks ago, and we also had a strategic planning session as well. And now we're back again with just some additional information of where things are currently at from a budgetary perspective, and some considerations moving forward based on our current financial scenario. So I'll quickly just kind of buzz through this again. You've seen all this information. This will change a little bit based on some of the conversations that we'll have tonight. But just to give you an idea, and any folks listening tonight, kind of what we're looking at overall currently. Now, I say that with a lot of questions still yet to be answered from the state. We don't have a final approved budget. There's a lot of chatter that's going on out of Albany right now. A good majority of it appears to be positive. So we think that's a good thing for us moving forward. So looking at total revenue budget, it's down a little bit by 0.02. The total expense-based budget is up by about 1.3. Our state aid right now is showing a decrease of 1.5%. And we'll talk a little bit about the latest information that's come out regarding state aid. We believe that probably in a worst case scenario, we'll see flat, or we may see an increase in state aid is what I'm recently hearing. So that's in a positive direction. Our property tax levy, in the last meeting we discussed, our allowable levy was 1.41 in the calculation. And what happened there is there was a miscalculation on one of the properties from Crestwood, and the pilot was initially calculated 100%, and it was supposed to be 90%. So that little bit of calculation moves it from 1.41 to 1.69. And we're certainly going to have some discussion about that number as well moving forward. We have no reserves or fund balance included. If you look at our current budget gap right now, with still several unknowns from the state, we're at about $650,000. Jeepers. I got a new mouse here, so it's taking a little time to get used to. Not sure why I'm skipping. Okay. So again, just quickly, if you look at the numbers going across our levy amount at 1.69, that generates about $302,000. State aid, again, that number of a decrease is about $349,000. Yet we're hopeful that number comes up flat or potentially increases. We're still at our appropriated fund balance, about 1.6 million. Again, if you look at a budget to budget year of negative 0.02 and that tax levy increase of 1.69. Won't go into too much detail here. You've seen these slides before. Nothing's really changed here in terms of moving forward and what things look like. Again, if you look at the bottom line of state aid, it shows a reduction. So there's no changes really at this point, and we don't expect any probably for at least a few weeks. Some miscellaneous sources of revenue. Again, that the only little change there would be the pilot increasing there a little bit. Really nothing else significant here as far as that goes. And then in the final couple of slides here, again, we have no appropriated reserves. Our total revenues are about $47,709,931. So we're looking at a reduction of about 8,000 in revenues, and again, without all of the information at this point coming out of the state. So some things to consider again moving forward. We talked about the CARES Act funds, which is about $436,000 of rolling those funds forward. We haven't made a final decision on that yet, but it gives us good potential down the road of being able to use these funds, as we discussed, being in a pretty good financial position at the moment, considering some changes and reductions we've made along the way here over the past year. Reducing additional positions through attrition. Again, we'll have to wait and see what the final numbers look like from the state. I don't perceive that to be an issue at the moment, but we've got to take a close look at it when we get the final numbers. Reduce additional positions through layoffs. I don't expect that to happen unless something strange comes out of Albany, based on what I'm currently hearing. And the use of ERS reserve to fill a gap if needed, if we still have that gap. Again, I'm fairly confident that we're not going to most likely have that gap. And then the state legislature increased the foundation above the governor's proposal. So what we're hearing basically is that all the proposals from the one House Senate and the one House Assembly are basically saying that the state aid needs to be at least flat or increased, and that the CARES money cannot be used to replace that. So that would be above and beyond of whatever the increase would be. So our budget timeline, as you can see, final approved budget will be when we get a couple weeks after break, or week after break, we come back for a final budget. If need be, I would recommend that maybe April 12th on a Monday. If we have more updated information at that time to bring to you, we have a short meeting to discuss any of those updates if needed. And then by May 5th, we've got budget information sessions throughout the district. And our official budget hearing is scheduled for May 10th, and the annual budget vote is scheduled for May 18th. So some things to consider tonight. There's two really important components that we need to think about moving forward in this budget. One, we are in a good financial position right now with a strong fund balance. What I'd recommend tonight moving forward in this budget is to increase an interfund transfer of about $750,000, which will help us address some other maintenance related items within the district and within the budget, as well as equipment and potentially site work as well within our capital project. So we have those funds available. Basically what it would mean is that we'd be increasing our appropriated fund balance for the year with that revenue, with the ability to have some flexibility to improve some more things around the district. The other piece that I believe is important and up for discussion is if things play out well from the state, our current levy amount, maximum tax cap levy amount that we can go to is 1.69%. I would recommend at this point that we look to reduce that amount for the public and for the community in general, based on what a difficult year it's been for many folks out there. What that final number is, I think that there still needs to be discussion, but my expectation is that we'd be able to bring that number down below 1% moving forward. So those are really the two big items. We still have a lot of unknowns. There's a $2.9 million allotment of funds from the American Rescue Plan, which is above and beyond the CARES money that has been allocated to school districts. Those funds can technically be used to fill budget gaps, address what people are calling learning loss, which I have a hard time with. I'm using the approach of building upon, which I think is important. Our students have really overall had a pretty solid experience based on what we've been through. We think that we can build upon the learning that's already happened throughout this year and expand that this summer. So there looks to be significant funds also to address students with disabilities, to assist students experiencing homelessness, to provide summer enrichment and after school programs. So as we've been talking about before, our idea around the student center at OA, that's an opportunity there where we believe there'll be some additional funding to be able to run programs like that. So we're looking forward to finding out more about that information. So we don't really know exactly what the 2.9 million is going to allow us to do at this point, but that's just a framework of understanding for everybody. So questions, I guess, at this point, as far as where we're at in the process. Again, we hope that there's going to be an on-time budget and we will have those finalized numbers, but we don't know that 100%. Bob, do you have any other feedback?
No, that really covers it. We're supposed to have an on-time budget by April 1st, so that's about 3 days away. If that in fact happens, the real question is going to be around what the legislature decides to do with any federal money. And federal money always has strings attached to it. So what we have to be careful of and be cognizant of is that while it's not just simply here's money, do as you wish with it, it's important that we look and understand the rules. And one of the problems that we're having right now is that those rules haven't really come out yet. Those regulations haven't really come out yet. So we're in this uncertain territory of what that federal money can be used for. And when applying it to the budget and building a budget, that could be problematic. So we're just going to have to wait at this point to see what happens with the state legislature's budget, and then whatever comes out of the feds in terms of what the rules are going to be. So
we do know that what we have heard with the American Rescue Plan is that 20% of those funds really will be towards what they're calling learning loss or extension of learning, building upon. So we know that part will exist, but beyond the rest of those funds, it's really up in the air. Any questions about where we're kind of at in the process? Are folks okay to kind of play it by ear for April 12th if we have more information to bring to you at that point? If not, I would assume we'll have those discussions on April 19th as we finalize for budget approval.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's really it. Again, we will keep you up to date on any things that come out of the state, any updates that we hear as we move forward, and keep you involved in the process and keep things transparent. We plan to have some budget presentations throughout the community over the next month or so when we get finalized numbers. So we'll be doing what we normally do and getting out there as much as possible to share all this budgetary information.
Right.
Okay. Any questions before we sound off, or are we all set? Okay, thanks everybody. I appreciate it.
Good.
We will be in touch soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.